emergency operations conducted at events. The training and certification program produces incident commanders that make better decisions and will potentially eliminate the lethal or costly mistakes that happen during fire in your community. So these guys took a 40-hour online course, and then we all sat through a 24-hour sim lab where we actually sat in a room and we commanded incidents, variety of incidences from a residential all the way up to like a mega type mansion or a mega superstore fire. And they, outside evaluators come in and grade them. So it's a nationally recognized certification, and I was just wanting you guys to know that this is the level of training that these guys are putting forth for the community, and I wanted to recognize them in successfully completing that. So.
Thanks, Alan. Thank you, guys. I'd have figured maybe 126 with Buddy alone. I mean, he's a week older than Water. All right. I'm kidding, Buddy. You know that. Chief Spivey?
Mayor, Council, good evening. Thank you for allowing us an opportunity to recognize one of our own. This is a first for me. It's something we don't get to do often in the whole town wide. Tonight we're recognizing an individual who has spent nearly 30 years in law enforcement, but 20 of it here, and tonight we're going to recognize him for his 20 years. I don't have to describe to you or anybody in the audience or listening at home what policing is like today. It's evolved, it's changed, and every day seems like a new struggle. And particularly for those that are serving decades, we owe them a great service and a great thanks and gratitude. So I'd like to recognize Captain Harry Humphreys for 20 years with Carolina Beach.
With that, Brenda, you got a update on the special events, huh?
Man, he just rolled out, huh?
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Temp, council members. I'm going to brief you on special events tonight for August through September. Same one. Does it roll down again? Oh. Oops. Okay. We have our weekly summer events, and unfortunately or fortunately, they are ending within the next 2 months. Next 2 months. We have the CB Market on every Saturday. The last Saturday is September the 25th. Family Night, the last Tuesday is August 13th. Bingo, the last Wednesday is August 28th. CB Performing Arts Night, the last Friday is August 16th. And the last fireworks and music at the Boardwalk is Friday, August 30th. And then the movies for August and September, August 18th is How to Train Your Dragon. The 25th is Crazy Rich Asians. Seen it, good. September is, the 1st is Wonder Park. August events, we have one, which is the Romparama Body Championship on Saturday, the 17th, from 7 to 5 p.m. And just to give you a heads up, some of my slides in both my briefings have changed, so be prepared. I want to keep you up to date. The Mary Lynn Hardesty Teal Hearts 5K and 10K is Sunday, the 22nd, from 7 a.m. to 12 noon. If you remember, you approved that last year for this year. The Dragon Boat Race is Friday, the 20th, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday, the 21st, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Rock the Beach is Saturday, the 7th, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Any questions?
None from me.
Come on, Steve, I know you got one.
Can you back up and talk about that intergalactic Wamparama? Right there.
Yes, sir, they do this every year. They've done this for the last 10 years that I know of.
10.
And it's just the championships, and it's the same as any of the other surfing except for its body.
Well, I'm just
Body
disappointed
surfing.
that we didn't get it labeled correctly. It is the intergalactic Wamparama.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Because on their
I-
application, this is what they have. But it's the intergalactic.
Intergalactic.
It is the intergalactic.
Okay.
Councilman, you're competing, correct?
I am.
Okay.
All right, everybody be there Saturday,
In the women's
17th.
division.
It'll be an EMT on scene. Brenda, is that time right for the regatta, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on the 20th?
Yes.
It is, okay.
Because on the 20th, that's the Friday night, and they don't start their event till 6. Friday afternoon is when they practice, so they don't start the band and the beer and everything till 6 p.m.
Good, I'm looking forward to that.
And does the town have a team this year?
Well, because I couldn't do it, they decided they really didn't want to do it this year.
They didn't want to win.
Is that right?
Yeah, they didn't want to risk their lives.
Where's Eric?
No, I don't think that they do.
No team, Eric? So Curry Beach wouldn't step up and race with us?
Well, it's 6 to 10, that's past curfew down there,
That's
so I
right,
mean,
yeah.
how they-
You know,
Somebody call Joseph Whitley.
oh, Greg will be out waiting by my car with a,
We might end up with we might end up with 2 Carolina Beach town teams.
Let's see what we can do.
I'm thinking the trashy people would probably take you guys on, Eric. Pretty sure.
and just to be clear, Saturday, the 21st, is when the races are. Friday is just the party.
Right. I'd like to say something really quick before we move on in regards to events. This past Sunday was the Ocean Cure Life Rolls On. If you've never been able to be a part of that, you're missing out because I would probably say 2/3 of the volunteers come from Carolina Beach alone. But the amount of lives that they're changing from anybody who's disabled and may or may not be able to surf, the smiles and the stories that you hear from them, extremely heartfelt. Steve was out there in the water. It's a really awesome time. They do it every August. So if you think you have a few minutes, just kind of spare some of your own personal time, next year sign up. It is amazing. Those guys over there at Ocean Cure, one's back there in the corner, did an awesome job. It was really, truly heartfelt and touching. So thanks. You see Kevin Murphy, give him a high five and a hug. He's awesome.
and those waves were rocking. You're out, oh my,
And definitely make sure you make it out Saturday for the Wamparama. Intergalactic, that thing's pretty badass.
Brenda, thanks. And I think you've got a new event for our
yes, I do.
consideration.
I'm going to brief the staff portion. Oh, let me do that. I want the, oh, no, cancel that. I want this one. And then the event organizers will come up and brief their part of it. Hopefully. I'm briefing. Why isn't it opening? My briefing was so amazing, it doesn't want to open up, you know.
Just building up the anticipation.
I know.
Click on it.
It's opening, it's, I guess, it's 0%.
Should I use the, something was wrong with it tonight, I couldn't open the PowerPoint. Want me to use the PDF? All right, we're going to have a new event. Oh, sorry. It's the Superb Beach Soccer Tournament. Is that one okay, sir? Councilman Shettleman?
I don't know, I haven't heard anything about it yet.
Oh.
telling you the other
No, I
one.
was
It's called
talking-
Intergalactic.
I thought this might be intergalactic also.
No,
It's September
this is-
14th.
This
and-
is superb.
This is superb, yes. This is September 14th and September 15th. The proposal, courts will take up the beach from the Courtyard Marriott to the Hampton Inn, and they're asking for up to 7 courts. It's Friday, September 13th through Sunday, September 15th. Set up Friday night starting at 6 p.m., and that's when they'll set up the courts on the beach. First game starts Saturday at 9 a.m. Last game will be played Sunday at 5 p.m. No other events are planned for the 13th and 14th. They expect 500 to 1,000 attendee. Town will check the electric on the Boardwalk stage, and no other town resources are being requested. Oh, whoops. Parking is just designated parking provided, no designated, I'm sorry, and they'll utilize the existing town parking spaces and right-of-ways. Okay, this is one, they have 3 layouts. This is a 5-court. There's the Hampton Inn, and there is the Marriott. The Hampton Inn and Marriott both are sponsoring this event, and they've changed dates, one because of the tide. They were going to do it at the end of September, but because of the high tides, they changed it to the weekend they're changing it to because the hotels asked them, said that was the best weekend for them. And this is with 5 courts. Here is the stage right there. This is with 6 courts, still 3 and 3, and then they're going to have a tent there, and there's the stage. And this is with 7 courts, so they'd have all 7 going across. And there's the stage right there where Court 4 is. The committee had some concerns about this event, and this is a slide that you do not have. I'm sorry, we updated it after our meeting. We had a department head meeting. The staff concerns are event is held on a busy weekend. Our summer season is getting longer and longer. It used to be if we had events after Labor Day, they were good. The beach wasn't that busy. But now I've been told by Chief Spivey that they're running, that even September is a busy month. And parking, it might be a problem for all the parking for all the visitors and the event. The boardwalk usage, they're taking up the whole space there in front of the boardwalk, and it's just going to be a lot of people and a lot going on down there, and we're just a little bit concerned about it being held in September. Contact other beach activities. I was told today that the 3 chair vendors, Wheel Fun Rentals, Pleasure Island Rentals, and Tony Savani Surf School, they were all briefed because they do put out beach chairs, and they were all okay with them doing this event and taking up that space. Pleasure Island Turtle Project, unfortunately, at the time that they talked to me, they had not heard from them yet. Still no. They still have not heard. They put a message, gave them a message, and they never heard back from them. I don't know if there's any turtle nests there, but we thought it would be a good idea for them to contact them.
I'm not sure there are. We don't
Okay.
patrol
Oh.
past August, the end
Oh,
of
okay.
August, but there may be some nests that we still have that will be hatching at that time.
Okay.
The last one is probably going to go before that. So they may be done by then, I think.
Okay. Yeah, they just wanted to let y'all know that, they were doing the event and
Yeah.
make sure
Well,
that our
unless we
turtles
find
were
some in
safe.
the next 2 or 3 weeks, right now, the last one should be gone by Labor Day weekend, I think,
Okay,
at least in Carolina Beach.
all righty. And the beach access surface, the handicap mats that are out on the beach, that Kevin Murphy put out, and again, they'll be removed by Sunday, September 8th anyway, so they won't even be down for that event. The emergency response, lifeguard stand positions. The lifeguards are transitioning from 7 days to weekends after Labor Day until the end of September. And it's just that those courts will be there, and there was a little concern from the chief about that. The high tide, if we have high tide, which it's the second, I've been told it's the second high tide of the month or of the year, that's, the moon's going to be purple and the sky's going to be blue, and we're supposed to have a high tide, one of the highest high tides that weekend. If that happens, the event, and I've talked to them about this at length, they won't be able to move their courts up anymore because they're at their limit right now where the courts have to go to give them that 15 feet back. And so they wouldn't be able to have their event if that happens, or they'll have to wait until the tides go down. The emergency lane, they realize, I've talked to them at length about this, they have to keep that emergency lane open at all times, and they can't go up into that emergency lane. Short notice for the public. They did meet my requirements and the town requirements for getting the event to us on time, to get it to the event committee and to you. But they didn't really, this is the first time I've been able to brief the public about it. So a lot of the public may not know about it, and if it's a beautiful weekend, there's going to be whatever if you approve and whatever you approve, courts down there. Time of year, there's other times of year that maybe in April that we suggested, but they do it this time of year because they're having tournaments other places in the off season before the summer. So it's kind of like, they're trying to have it when the other tournaments aren't happening, the other beach tournaments, volleyball beach tournaments. Material for the court, I asked them what that would be, and it's going to be a ribbon held down at corners with either stakes on each end, or if we prefer, they would put sandbags to hold the court in place. And that is my portion of the briefing. Do you have any questions for me?
Just one. It was originally scheduled for the end of September.
Correct.
On the application. Okay, and you're saying they moved it up?
They moved it up because that weekend is supposed to be the highest tide of the
And
year
you're talking
because of
about
the
this
blue
year, So
moon.
this is less than 30 days from.
Correct, ma'am.
I mean,
Yes,
kind of
ma'am.
short notice. I mean,
For the-
assume-
yes.
sure they've already made all their plans for this event.
Well, I tell all events, do not advertise your event or start your event until you go to council and you get council approval, because if you don't approve it, then they're stuck. So they should not have done anything as far as, I know they told me today that they have to get the courts from someplace special, and they said they weren't going to do that until after council to see what you all had to say. So no event, when they have to come to council, should ever advertise or start their event online or anything until you have approved or disapproved the event.
Should probably go ahead and have them come up because that's where our questions.
Yes, they're going to come up and do a briefing also. Yes, sir. So I didn't know if you had more questions for me
I just saw
concerning
the
the town.
15, the 12 or 15 on the schematic, the setback for the police, ocean rescue, and then secondarily the beach vendors, so.
Where they are at on the beach, we do have the ballards up, the post on the beach.
Yeah.
So they are 5 feet from those posts.
Okay.
So they should, be all right, and we hope there's room for spectators and stuff. And if not, they'll have to do it on the side or on the water side.
That was my only flag.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anybody else have any questions before they come up and brief? Okay. The briefings are going to be Dwight Finley, and Ryan Gillespie, correct? And they also have a slideshow briefing. If y'all will come up, and you can come up to the middle. I don't know what's wrong with my PowerPoint tonight.
Good evening. Welcome.
Hey, Dwight, Ryan.
Okay.
Thank you guys for allowing us to be here and to present this.
Really quick, are you Dwight or Ryan?
I'm Dwight.
Okay, that's Ryan. Welcome, guys.
So, I run a soccer program in town. I'm also a high school teacher at Hargett High School, and I've been doing tournaments in the area, and then also been part of different tournaments in the Raleigh area, this concept sort of came to me when I met Ryan a few years ago. I had the opportunity to not just work with him, but to play with him as well. So the tournaments and stuff we've done, my program, and I'll talk real briefly on that, Ryan share about himself a little bit. My program is based a lot on helping kids sort of have opportunities that are not just the regular soccer direction. So we provide a futsal program where kids get to experience the sport in a different way. And a few years ago, we decided to explore the beach soccer development as well, which is another area where we focus on helping kids develop the technical game, and that's where I met Ryan. And so we've partnered in sort of presenting and providing soccer development through beach soccer, through my program, Superb Soccer. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago and have been here in the Carolina Beach area, actually living in Wilmington for about 6 years.
Brief introduction about myself. So, Brian Gillespie, I'm the owner of a company called Peak Athletics in Wilmington, where we do strength and conditioning for athletes of various ages. My background with Dwight, we met a couple years ago, but I was on the U.S. National Beach Soccer team back in 2004, 2005, and 2006. And so beach soccer, I've been playing for about 20 years now. And so it's kind of near and dear to my heart. And I always wanted, when I moved close to the beach, I grew up in the Philadelphia area, moved down here in 2012, and it's always been in the back of my mind to try to host a beach soccer tournament somewhere here in the Wilmington area. And it's always kind of been, you know, looking and investigating and trying to find a place that would give people from out of town like a destination. And Carolina Beach, to me, is a destination where there's activities, there's Boardwalk, there's things to do, there's restaurants close by, there's hotels close by, and so it kind of was a good match, I think, with what we were trying to accomplish. So that's kind of a little bit about my background and who I am and where I'm coming from. And we have a little slide about, you know, the benefits of that potential tournament to Carolina Beach. I've played beach soccer for about 20 years in the tournament that Virginia Beach has hosted. Now it's a much larger scale, but Virginia Beach started probably in 1994, I believe they first started their first beach soccer tournament with 26 teams. And now, almost 25, 26 years later, they're up over 1,000 teams. And it generates a significant amount of money to the local economy, hotels, you know, restaurants, businesses, you name it. I don't expect ever to get that scope of a tournament here, but it just adds a lot of elements to the local economy. They host it in the beginning of June. It's kind of right before the big wave of beachgoers for them. But beach soccer as a sport has been growing exponentially. national team is doing well. U.S. Soccer has kind of taken it under its wing, and FIFA, the governing body of soccer worldwide, has now taken over the ownership of the World Cup and things like that. So it's growing as a sport. And Dwight and I have been really trying to get more kids involved in the sport and trying to grow up with it. This is the first year actually that the U.S. women has ever had a beach soccer event. I was in El Salvador about 2 weeks ago, but the U.S. women now have a national team for the beach soccer. So it's kind of an exciting up-and-coming sport, and they're kind of riding the wave of the Women's World Cup win. But on the slide there, this is impact to Virginia Beach. So on the lodging, it's alone, the low end is $3 million, from 1,000 teams coming to that location over that specific weekend. So they do it over a 3-day period, the first weekend in June. And these are just estimates of what they've had over the course of the years, but the town has really supported them over a 25-year period, and I'm using them as an example, but me playing there for 20 years, I've been actually very good friends with their director of operations for their tournament, and have talked to them numerous times about helping us get something together down here in the Carolinas. So it's been a good event for me. So Dwight, you want to add?
I guess you can move on to the next. This, because of my relationships with putting on other the futsal tournaments in town in Wilmington, we have been asked by some of the clubs in the Charlotte area to actually host a beach soccer. And I was strongly encouraged quite a few times. I said, Dwight, you have to do this. You guys are at Carolina Beach. One of the comments from one of the directors in Charlotte, he said, we go to a beach volleyball court, and we do beach soccer there, and there's no sign of water anywhere. So he wants to bring his teams down here. So his goal was, as part of their program, to culminate their beach soccer season. They travel and they play in the same tournament that Ryan goes to every year. And his goal was to culminate their season with coming down here. So we've talked about it. I said it would be something I love to do. Ryan and I have been discussing this a couple of years now and trying to find the exact location to make something like this possible, and really provide not just an impact for the community, but another avenue for kids to see an opportunity to develop in the game. And we know that their interest is in coming here is not just to come and play the sport, but they also see the benefits of being in Carolina Beach. So this will be an inaugural year for us, and so we are not expecting it to be 1,000 teams. Our goal really is to begin the groundwork, just to make sure it's something that the kids and the community and us can partner on, so it can be an event that can be successful year after year. It's the same thing I do with my other tournaments. I believe that once the community and the parents and the kids, everybody has a great time and they see the benefit, then it can be a program that can continue to grow. We reached out to the Hampton Inn and Marriott, and they were very much on board because they feel like if we can find the right time, it would benefit them, the hotels as well. So the relationship we've got with them, they're there to support. We've done this in the past with tournaments. We share with parents. This is, for us to have this tournament, you have to stay at these particular hotels. So these 2 hotels will be a stay to play. It will be required for parents to stay there for this tournament. So they're guaranteed the rooms. The hotels have already, and I have letters here from each of the hotels that I didn't have in a slide, so I wanted to bring these here. Just sharing their interest in us having the tournament.
Thanks.
our target this year is to possibly go for 40 teams. Some will be local, but the majority of the teams will be coming in from out of town, based on the interest that have been shared with me from directors from different clubs. The goal, again, I said, is to really sort of start it off this year, see as, build the right relationship, begin as small as we can so that we can continue to build it the correct way. Yeah, I can speak. So my company, Superb Soccer, we do a lot of different programs in town. So we are required to have general liability insurance. So my company, we have insurance that covers all the activities we do within our company. So
Finley, this is going to be one that you're going to like because you're in the
Yeah.
futsal. Just as a matter of disclosure, my daughter has done a number of camps with Finley on futsal, but we can move it along a little quicker. I
Yes,
think we're okay.
Yeah,
So
let me-
that's all right.
hey,
You guys were well prepared, but
You guys are
Mayor
being,
said-
this is a warmly received brief, I'll be honest with you. So is there anything that Brenda did not brief that you want to highlight and we can expedite the?
Well, and I had a couple of questions for him. I just wanted to see, are you guys primarily looking at youth? I saw where you had the U8 to U13, invite only. On the play and stay and play, I'm familiar with that, having some kids on travel soccer. Would you open it up to some of the other hotels? We have a variety of folks in town. It's nice that the two that are on beachfront would support that, but I know often the opportunity might be families might want a couple other. So as long as they stay, if they're playing in Carolina Beach, we'd ask them to stay here. But I think we have
It's a
a
good
variety
cost
of.
price point.
Yeah.
Well, we have a variety of hotel operators, and it would be nice if we opened that and just didn't limit it to those two for the tournament participants. You guys seem like you're aware of the tide issue that could be, okay? I mean, I think it is the healthy environment, the healthy family environment that we're trying to promote. I understand where staff's at, the first real weekend after Labor Day, but for an inaugural year, we could give it a try, and if it works, maybe there's a better scheduling somewhere else in the calendar that works, but
It's
I
always
know
worth a
that,
shot and see how it goes from there.
Hey, Ed, when does, isn't that the weekend that the carnival packs up and goes? I think,
no, they'll be gone before that.
or
They
is it the
pack
weekend
up-
before?
They pack up right after Labor
Late-
Day. So
okay.
actually Labor Day, they will be packing up.
That's right.
I mean, Councilwoman Pierce was asking about the Economic Development Committee, and this is the kind of thing that does generate. I know we don't want to be Myrtle Beach on all instances, but they generate a lot of money on family travel sports. The Pisa Sandblast is a huge success down when they do that, so I would be supportive of it to give it a try.
And I won't, and I won't speak much to the hotel part of it since you did, because I do own a hotel, but if those are full, the people have to go somewhere else. It's all about the number of people on the island, so I get the math. You said 40 teams. How many people are on each team?
5 to 10.
I'm sorry, how many?
5 on the court at one time, but approximately 10
Per team. So that's a lot of people,
per team,
Okay.
plus parents.
families. And so, nothing, anybody can go out and watch. There won't be any area blocked off? Okay. And
Charging for, anything like that.
and that was my other question. And my recommendation would be, and Tom, do you know if there are any nests in that area? It looks like a large area.
That's right, the main spot.
Yeah, it's a big area right in front of the boardwalk.
There's no nest.
None. And just know that there's a possibility between now and then, something,
Sea turtles pop
what you
up.
think won't happen does. So just be aware that that could happen.
Let alone the
I'm
tide.
sure you'll be notified if it does.
That's usually a busy place anyway, so.
Sure, yeah. Like I said, what you don't think will happen does. Yeah.
They
So
surprise
guys,
you all the
you're
time.
looking at you're looking at a schedule of 40 teams realistically with a month to go. How do you think you can fill the 40 teams?
Yes, I think that's part of what at one point we were discussing probably limiting just basically saying there's only a max, 30 teams decided to leave it open and probably have like a waiting list, but I do feel like we could.
And would you set aside any of those spots for the New Hanover County teams? I mean, we have three pretty good, I think three soccer programs, not the least of which is named Pleasure Island Soccer Association, PISA. I mean, you know, they might want to, since you're on Pleasure Island.
Friends with a lot of the coaches,
Right.
Pizza and the Hammerheads and
I mean, the economic development for me is very intriguing to bring people from out of the area and to generate those revenues. But it's kind of a balance when you have a lot of local kids that have been working hard on a soccer program.
that's why we want it. I mean, we're not just gonna limit it to people coming from out of town, that's not the goal. We
But it's a
want
balance.
to grow here in
Right.
Wilmington, and the time of year is always a little bit tough, because now they're Pisa and Hammerheads and some of the other clubs.
They're all
are
traveling.
ramping up. So that weekend, we're, hoping that they don't have a lot of teams all going, playing tournaments and other things, but,
I think Mike's Sandblast in June down at Fort Fisher has 100 teams.
probably more than that.
Yeah.
It's 4,000 people on a weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why we like to have it here at Carolina Beach, because it's just such a different experience that when you're at Fort Fisher, all the families and parents and stuff basically camp on the beach. They bring all their food, bring everything with them, and just set up tents and camp there. Where now, we're here in Carolina Beach, instead of bringing all their food, they're gonna go frequent the restaurants. They're gonna go buy drinks from the local establishment. They're gonna do all that stuff. And it's gonna be convenient, to do it, rather than hauling everything out to the beach.
Good plug.
Sounds like we're all game to give it a shot.
Yep.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to
Yes.
approve the Suburb Soccer Tournament set up for September 13th through 15th, making special note of the key factors that we're encouraging a play and stay, opened up to the community, and also note that the staff's concerns about the fire aisle. We've got to maintain the fire aisle for the
Emergency
First
response.
responders.
first responders, and the tide. There's nothing we can do about the
And,
tide.
and probably not so much with your setup, but with your parents, and let them know they can't set up there. And they can't set up overnight either, the parents and their tents and things.
That would be my motion, is save. I believe Ms. Butler has a,
Do you have a caveat?
no more than 36?
Let's start with 7.
We'd be
see how
going
it
down to
goes.
Cary Beach for permission.
I think that's going to be no more than 7
Yeah.
is the application, and limited to basically what you guys
What
can.
Mother Nature allows.
Okay.
I mean,
Motion on the floor, so with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks, guys. Dwight, Ryan, all right.
Good luck.
Ryan, did you play football?
What's that?
You played football,
No,
right?
soccer.
Soccer.
But you didn't play football when you were young? Oh, thank God.
Soccer player.
You look like the guy that convinced me that I wasn't really good at it in high school. The linebacker that hit me like a freight train, and all right, that's...
They call it football in England.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe he did. Great, good deal. Ed has
Our
lot
favorite
to say.
agenda item.
stormwater.
Everything.
Less of that, more of...
We're really liking the fact that it's labeled manager's update. Just point that out.
That's right.
You're off your mark
Move-
there.
Migrating away from the interim label.
Interim manager?
He just doesn't
Don't
know
think
it
the
yet.
wife wants that yet.
Mayor, council, go through our updates. The first one is land use plan is continuing to move forward. August 21st, encouraging folks to come out and encouraging folks to go to our site and give comments. Our consultant will go through all of those comments on the 21st, and the committee will make recommendations on moving forward. We are delayed a little bit because there have been a lot of concerns that we're trying to address throughout the community. And so our dates for planning board and council are not set yet, but that's the process, is it'll go back to planning board and then come to you finally for approval.
And just a comment on that, I've had a lot of public ask about attending that meeting, so I would expect to see a lot of public there. Will there be public comment?
At the
21st
at the
meeting.
21st meeting, it's, yes, there will be an opportunity for folks to come give comments.
I expect quite a few people to be there, from what I understand.
I would too, and Ed, To that end, whether it's you or the planning director or our town attorney, we probably need to get, I certainly need some help understanding the clarification on when we have a CUP, it needs to meet the land use plan. And as we go through that in the future, when there's contradictions between a land use plan and current underlining zoning, what is the proposal on this plan to move forward? Because the feedback we've gotten from the community, and when I read it, there's a number of areas that are recommending different land uses than current zones, and that's creating a lot of angst in the community. Are we doing a backdoor zone change, or are we setting conflict up for people that want to do something in a zone on a conditional use that won't meet the land use plan? So I'm going to need some kind of clarification statement that said this is what this means and this is what it would allow or not allow.
Good point. That's definitely something I think you're right. We need to give some additional training on. Those rules have changed on consistency statements and what you can and can't approve from a council and planning board level. So we'll come back and maybe go through that at the 21st meeting, and then we'll go through it at planning board and council when it comes.
And to that end, Ed, I mean, if the intent of the land use plan committee is to say the direction of the community and the intent is to move towards different zones in the future, then we need to have that conversation, because a recommending land use plan, it just comes across as a little stronger than perhaps what it is, we need to have that discussion.
Got it. Yes, sir.
If we can have all that defined when we have the P and Z meeting with us, then we kind of really start to push a motion from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for those comments, and we'll keep going. This is one that I've got a lot of feedback from you and the community on, and it's our street blades. And as we're going through and doing street blades, we're also looking at other signs like stop signs. If they need to be replaced, we're replacing those. So most of the island we have done. One thing we're doing now that we didn't have is we do have a limited inventory. So if there is one that is damaged or stolen, we can quickly go back and replace those. We are in progress in the yellow area here, and then and we are hopefully going to be replacing these very shortly. So the timeline is coming due pretty quickly, probably within the next month or so. You should see those being completed. Around Town Hall, we do have a Permit Technician Institute coming that's holding training at Town Hall. This is something new that we're trying out, and we're having this training. We're hosting the training, so there's an advantage for our staff. We got a lot more folks that we're trying to get through this training. So by hosting it, we get it free. We get our folks in for free. We save travel money, and we bring people in from all over the state, really, that will come here and stay in hotels in Carolina Beach and patronize our businesses here. So big win for us. It costs savings to the town. We're looking at hopefully bringing in a lot more classes to Carolina Beach. The billing window, we have expanded our hours. We do still have limited times on Wednesday, and we are pretty close to having those positions filled, so hoping to have some of those new employees up in front of you very soon, and then we'll be back to normal business with 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. Several new police officers coming on board this week, and one next week is good news for our folks, building up some of those new folks, new police officer positions. And I sent you water tests conducted by NC State and private consultant, and they've been going around doing water tests, and ours came back as no hits from any of the contaminants that you're Gen X or any of the things that you're seeing in other areas. So great job to our water department for on that note. And we also are recertifying for our community rating system, the CRS. We have a 6, which You may not realize you're getting, because there's only a small note on your flood insurance document, but everybody in Carolina Beach gets 20% discount on their flood insurance, and that's because of the work that our staff is doing. Yes,
That's Jeremy.
Yeah.
does a lot of that work. Thank you.
So with the 20% you saved, you can buy him a new sport jacket or something. Maybe buy me.
And also, we improved on our BSEGs, Building Code Effectiveness Grading improved, and that's due to, they analyze our building inspections program, which Daryl's done a phenomenal job, and Jeremy's also helped build for Carolina Beach. Along those same lines, there is a public workshop being held tomorrow, 5:30 to 7:30 at New Hanover County. If you are interested, if you're paying for flood insurance and you think you're paying too much, down here in the corner it says what you can potentially save. Yeah, they're asking to bring your elevation certificate and flood insurance policy, and if you don't have an elevation certificate, they've got information on how you can quickly get one. So it should be good information. If anybody from the public wants to go, I believe Jeremy will be there as well to help out with some of the presentations, to help our community reduce rates. So I've got some of our upcoming projects. Of course, council, you know, a CUP is conditional use permit, and then just for the public, those are things that the council will, or quasi-judicial hearings that the council cannot discuss until that hearing takes place, and the planning board as well. Technical review will be reviewing a Spring Hill Suites that is going up over by Walgreens, or has an application in. There is a plan unit development for 2 homes over off Keys Lane. 36 unit condos beside Domino's on the vacant lot right out there on Myrtle Grove Sound. We also have a text amendment that's allowing, requesting to allow for some more flexibility for plan unit development for business, so allowing for more than one commercial structure on a lot. In the neighborhood business zoning district will be coming to TRC for review. Planning board has asked the staff to look at private parking lots for, right now, the town has parking lots for profit, and also you can have a private lot for profit. And P&Z's asked us to review that, and so we'll be reviewing that code and potentially bringing back something to town council in the coming months. We were adding, or the owners of Hidden Hills are looking to add some more lots to that subdivision. And the warehouse office space on the corner of Bircham and Lake Park Boulevard that you heard quite a while ago as a conditional use permit, they are looking at moving forward with their plans. So we're having their pre-construction meeting at TRC. For you, you will be hearing a conditional use permit for Hurricane Alleys. They're expanding their rooftop. You also have an amendment for a mixed-use commercial residential regulations to reduce commercial square footage requirements for V zoning properties. And we'll get into more detail on that during the text amendment, but essentially we require 50% of your bottom floor to be commercial, and that becomes very difficult for a few properties that have V zone, which is the most stringent flood zone, where you can't have it's very difficult to have the enclosed split space on the ground floor. So it would help out with some development and redevelopment in our downtown area. And then some updates on our sign regulations. There's been quite a few new state laws and cases that have come out that we're trying to come back and be consistent with, so we'll bring those changes back. That's October. We might delay that one till October is what the attorney's telling me. So, okay, this is Hamlet Avenue, and we've been looking at redoing the bathrooms and shower facilities and adding on a spot for our ocean rescue folks at this spot. It does take up a little more space, going from 48 to 39 parking spaces. You see the parking configuration changes a little bit in here. What we've done to save some costs is we've cut off, this is a rendering we had done, but the top portion was too cost prohibitive. It would require a elevator, and the construction cost would be a little bit higher than we wanted to see. So to amend the site plan, instead of having the elevator and staircase here, this would be an office space. And the rest being, this is for where the lifeguards would have their locker rooms. We would store the four-wheelers, and their jet ski and vehicle would be stored here. And this would be.
Did you guys consider connexes like Tony has on
We did
a
look-
concrete pad?
We did look at the Connex boxes, and it is a potential alternative to do that type of construction here as well. Don't know if we would say it would, the design on it, because you'd have to piece the boxes together, appeared to be a challenge, and there was some long-term maintenance issues that had us concerned. So, so we were looking at doing potentially a design build for this building versus the.
Because you anticipate to lose 8 of those spots, and probably be the same with connexes. I don't know, but a concrete pad. I lived in those for months and months, and they're they'll stand up to whatever Mother Nature throws at it.
Right.
Just look at a cost comparison, because I know a connex is not that expensive by
Right.
comparison to what.
You can get those fairly cheap.
This price is.
Yeah.
So yeah, the last slide is what we wouldn't build. This is a very preliminary estimate of what you're looking at to build this facility is right at 700. I think we could get that number down. But the focus would be the 25-week schedule is what we're looking at, which was pretty aggressive. But I think we could meet that. If we met that and move forward with this project, then we could have this facility open and ready for next summer season for our lifeguards folks.
That's a
Ed,
steep cost there. Can you go back to
We
that?
talked about that. We are currently paying a lease fee payment, right, on the lifeguard's current space at the Boardwalk. We lease a space.
We have
So
been
we-
leasing for longer than I've been here, so over
Right.
20 years, and that lease payment is going up significantly.
So we would have that lease payment savings to apply towards financing if that's what we choose to do.
Yes, sir.
All right. And we've needed to redo that Hamlet bath and wash house for at least 10 years. It's needed it.
They are at the end of their life.
Okay. So we're faced either way. What would be your proposal to move forward and start looking at bringing those costs down? I mean, just on a cursory look, there's a couple numbers in there that I would see that we could get pretty aggressive on.
I think we can work. We're looking at several different contractors, and these are numbers that they've probably buffered a little bit because they didn't want to give me something that was too low, which is typical. So we could do like some of this, the overlay and striping. We could do some of the striping in-house. We could do some of the site work. We could look at bringing that number down.
Well, not getting
They're-
into negotiating it on the fly, but I would
Right.
say overhead and fee and general condition costs are all three the same thing, generally.
Right. So once we get the that spec'd out and put the bid out, I think we would get some lower costs. But we would have to move fairly quickly. 25 weeks is very aggressive. So if we bid it out and we would definitely need to go ahead and move forward now so we could get it bid get those bids back. That would be at least a month to get that bid and awarded by council, and then to move forward with construction to get somebody mobilized. It's going to take a little bit of time.
So, just a question, since everything with our lifeguard program is paid through our room occupancy tax dollars, would you expect to ask for a reimbursement on those funds from this building?
I think we should look to them. Of course, you have to pay up front and then ask for the reimbursement, but I think we should. I think it's something that they should consider.
I
It
was
seems,
just about to ask that.
I would just caution you, as I do every time we talk about the room occupancy tax, you need to go back and look at, there's two parts that we spend. One of them is we can spend on this type of stuff, but every year the manager has come to us with a budget that said out of the $600,000, here's what we're spending that on. Currently, we use that money to pay for lifeguards. A lot of it goes to lifeguards. And then we do a couple of activities that the community has supported, which are the movies at the lake and the fireworks. And other than that, the rest of those room occupancy tax dollars are spread out through the town budget. So to think that there's anywhere near $100, $200, $300, or $400,000 that hasn't been committed, we should be careful. If there is, it has gone up every year, Leanne, I understand that, but I'm just cautious that it's not a bottomless
No,
pit.
I understand. And what I would ask, well, I think you'll see this year's numbers are particularly very high. I can just take that from being in the business. I think you'll see quite a return this year on the room occupancy tax. But could you go back and figure what we've put towards lease payments?
Right.
Maybe for however many years, let's say the last 5 years, and then that would be a good case for us to build on. And what would be the potential with the rent going up, like we've talked about? So that would be, maybe we would ask for a portion of it.
Ed, not to
I'm
mention,
all for
Well, if
asking
it's
for a
selling,
portion
no.
of it, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure we're managing our expectations. I mean, I see the $100,000+ in the budget right here that, just without even talking
Well,
about
we'll
staff.
cut that out, and
Right.
then, right.
Right.
you're
I think we should
interested-
ask, I'm just not, I don't want people in the
Well,
audience.
we
to
can't go at it
get-
like we can build this with those funds, because
$600,000.
we don't know if they'll reimburse those funds.
Exactly. But we
Right.
can ask.
But if you'll do that math on, that cost analysis of what we're paying for our lease and what we would pay in the future.
and
You
for-
want to, we also move forward with a bid package, just to get those back in?
I mean, I think so.
Yes.
because you're also talking about maintenance on the existing facility we're in,
correct.
assuming those costs. And cocktail napkin stuff on 4 connexes adjacent to the bathroom that needs desperate renovation.
I mean, I think this meets some of our long-term conversations that we've been having as a community, which is we need to do something with the bathroom at the Boardwalk proper, the
Lifeguard
Hamlet one, and we've talked about trying to come up with an additional bathroom somewhere in that Boardwalk area. At one point, we talked about doing it on the FEMA lot. That seems to have been waning a little bit, given financing. There was a vacant building down there. We talked about maybe putting a bathroom in, something. So long-term, we do have some public facility needs. So this is a good start on it, Ed. Thank you.
So for your August workshop, we have 3 items. We have been in contact with Matsu on a very frequent basis, and they are talking to headquarters, and as soon as they get an update, they will know that we're very anxious to find out their update. But essentially, they're looking for us to get back in compliance with the state, which means all our test wells that we have to be below state standards as far as any contaminants, mainly oil that was there from the old garage site. And we are very close, so we're trying to meet with our consultant that's doing the testing and the state later this month, and hopefully we can have that meeting before the workshop, if not very soon thereafter, and hopefully get something back from Matsu before then or soon thereafter. So more to come on that as we move forward.
And Ed, while you're talking to Malcolm, informal communications, just
sir.
some expectation based on within the state limitations, how soon the SDDC, their higher headquarters in St. Louis, how quickly will they staff to approval? Because most of those agencies there's 6 or 7 people that have to take their cuts on it before the 2-star puts a signature to it.
Right.
He can't predict it for sure, but. And then as we discussed today, you may be bringing it back to us next month, or is October to resume the project? Just for approval, even as we're waiting for final approval from the Army?
We've already been talking to an engineering firm about getting the permitting and everything back in place, but we're kind of on hold until we can get Matsu's. They're not going to get very far until they get something from Matsu saying, yes, we can move forward.
The engineering firm?
Right,
Okay.
right,
So
whoever.
that's not entirely done in parallel, so that we can expedite, okay.
So run that by me again. You don't think we can move forward getting everything lined up except for a solution on where the dirt's going to go? You don't think the engineer will come up with a plan? I mean, part of the plan is where they're going to deposit it, but. the
Well, yeah, we
part of the-
can, right. we
So
could-
what does the engineer not want to do until we get the blessing of Matsu?
Well, you'd have, all the permitting, your Army Corps of Engineer permitting would not go anywhere until Matsu approved it. But yeah, you could key it all up. I see what you're saying.
That's what we're saying.
And then a contingency plan if that doesn't pan out.
I think we're just asking, well, I.
Go ahead, move.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can approve even
Move
as
as
all these
quickly as-
other actions are taking place.
As quickly as we can.
Got it. We also have been discussing quite a bit the overview of our draft emergency compensation policy. That's something we really struggled with after Hurricane Florence. So we do have that policy that we've been working on. Holly, myself, Sheila, Debbie met on, and we've had several staff meet. But really, Holly's championed that. Thank you, Holly, for all the hard work. But all the other departments have done a lot of work with it as well. So we'll be bringing that back to you later this month. And we do have Lanier that will be coming to your August 27th workshop. We're hoping to get some information from them. We'll be meeting with them next week to put together information on expanding town parking. They're doing an assessment throughout town. Staff's doing an assessment. We'll get together, hopefully put a map together that we can bring back to you where we can add parking, golf cart parking, all that good stuff throughout the community. We're going to look at an analysis of revenue and expenditures for Freeman Park. We've also asked the Freeman Park Committee to look at the A through H I have listed in here. We'll hopefully be getting their recommendations and staff's recommendations and bringing back those for your review in August.
Question for you.
All right.
When you meet with Lanier in the next few days, do you have expectations in regards to service to the meters or what's going on in regards to what falls in line with their contracts, things they are on top of, things they are not?
They do have, they've looked at all the equipment. The equipment is at the end of its life. So they have given us a proposal for the next 3 years on the replacement, repair and replacement of that equipment.
And that's at our cost, correct?
That would be additional cost.
That was not in, we had a conversation with them. That was not in their original proposal, was to do the maintenance. That wasn't something we asked them to do in the RFP, so there was a gap in that. I know that we've had some discussion with them about golf cart parking, and I believe it asked them to come up with a plan for either tandem parking, a diagram of 1 of 2 or 3 ways to park tandem in a golf carts, and also to identify historically used golf cart spots that may not be a, quote, designated parking space, and determine whether or not that was a legitimate space that could be, I believe as the mayor said, harvested into a parking space for golf carts,
Right.
and create those new spaces. So my hope would be we quit writing all these golf cart tickets for a short period of time until we figure out where and how these guys can park.
Yeah. And how to add more.
And that eventually, whatever that looks like, that's part of when you register your golf cart for a parking pass each.
But I mean, that would be a short window, sorry. Not a long time. But I mean, we do have places that people have historically parked golf carts that are not, don't look like a parking space, but might adequately work.
Yeah.
But I think we need the police and the fire department to look at those and say, and operations, here's why that does or does not work. And I would also ask Ed if you can continue to look at taking the oceanfront, street-end parking spaces
Right.
that we have for vehicles and maybe converting all those to bike and golf cart. We just don't have when you take one automobile space and that's all we have down there, or two, and we could get 6 golf carts or 30 bikes.
Yeah.
It seems to me that's a better plan. So you're supposed to be getting back to us on that soon, I think, Ed.
Yes, sir. I'm hoping to have a map that covers those street ends and, well, the majority of the town where we can add those vehicle and golf spaces. So, thank you. And, we have moved forward on some of the recommendations that we've talked to you about. We've boxed in the spaces from Harper to Cape Fear on Lake Park Boulevard, and that was some comments from council that, hey, these vehicles are sticking way out. So we're going to be campaigning, but we haven't started enforcement. We are going to do a little bit of media campaigning of what the regulations are. Basically, your vehicle needs to fit within that boxed area. That doesn't mean you can drive on the sidewalk. That means you have to stay in that boxed area.
Okay, Ed, but I mean, the feedback we're starting to see from the public is, okay, where the heck am I supposed to park? Because if you take everything as compact parking, there are a lot of non-compact cars in this community. And so when you drive down the street and you see all these trucks that overhang in those boxed off things, where are they supposed to park? Are you then going to denote certain spaces for non-compact spaces until compact cars don't park in there, leave room for your other bigger vehicles? It's getting a little confusing out there, and we've painted half of Lake Park with these boxes.
Right.
And I've had more than a couple people comment to me, wow, that's interesting. How am I supposed to get my car in there?
Yeah, so we won't designate the ones that are not, but if it's not designated, then you can park there. But yes, we're short parking. Ever since I've been here, we want to have a parking problem because we want people here. But it's going to always be a challenge.
Well, this isn't the parking problem. This is what I believe. My understanding, the reason we were doing this is this was a
Safety issue.
safety issue
No
where
doubt.
we had large vehicles that were, when they park, they are into the drive aisle
Yes, sir.
and creates a little crowding on the street. So I'd be interested to see how the education program's going to come on that, and how we're going to where some of these vehicles are going to park.
Not to be the devil's advocate here, Steve, but that's maybe 20-some parking spots out of a town that has over 720.
I don't disagree. I mean, I'm not saying it's the end of the world.
And that's our busiest location. If you're out there riding your bikes, you're not allowed to ride on the sidewalk, which means you have to cruise behind those trucks. They are in the right-of-way for driving and for bicycles. It is very unsafe in
That's
that
why
area.
we painted them. I'm just saying,
I understand.
go down there the other night, took a picture, and there's like 7 vehicles, and they were all overhanging. So
We shall see how it pans out. I have faith in Ed.
So, and we will do some campaigning, some promotion of it before we
Enforcement.
start doing. We'll do some. We'll probably do a week of warning tickets, and then start ticketing after that. So
Just curious, did we paint those?
we did.
And they're on Lake Park?
Yes, ma'am.
So did we have to get permission for that?
From DOT, I don't think we.
we're asking for forgiveness, though.
What else can
I'm just kind of wondering if we could paint, anyway.
Wheels
just wondered.
started turning pretty quickly.
And then the following workshop, we are hoping to have our engineer who has a design for our town marina, and that was damaged, the south and east side damaged by Hurricane Florence, with a timeline, and we're also looking to have a harbor ordinance in front of you with the concerns that we've been discussing about the boats in either the harbor or at town facilities. So this shows you've got, these are areas where we're doing crosswalk improvements. So you've got Alabama, Ocean, Tennessee, just south of Carolina Sands, Atlanta, Hamlet, go up here to Ocean again and the Greenway, and then over here at Harper and Dow. So all these areas, we are looking at various improvements. Most of them, you're putting your bollards and your back-to-back signage on those sites. So those are the ones where we're actively working to improve. Stormwater updates. Our top 5, we've talked about quite a bit. So the first priority was the right here outside Town Hall by Network Realty going south on Lake Park, all the outfall at Mona Black. So the fix here would be to add piping across Lake Park Boulevard. There's a piece of piping that we would need to add basically from this side of the street over to the east side of Lake Park and several hundred feet down Lake Park. That's priority 1, and we're estimating $150,000 for that piece. The Texas Pump Station is the second one. We have done quite a bit at that site, and we haven't had issues since the staff has been doing work there with our contractor. But the recommendation is to add another backup diesel pump with a float control system, so it will automatically cut on if needed. The pricing there is approximately $80,000. The next one is one we've talked about quite a bit. That is the ditching portion over open ditch over off Charlotte Avenue. We have got easements now signed from the 2 property owners, and we'll be scheduling that work within the next couple weeks. That will be resolved. Once we finalize that work, it will be the homeowner's responsibility to continue to maintain that ditching.
And that's Henniger's ditch?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the next one is Cape Fear and 4th Street. There is a portion of pipe that needs to be graded properly. It's 50 feet west of 4th to 150 feet east of 4th along Cape Fear Boulevard, that the grading was done improperly.
So, Ed, we spent a lot of money and a lot of time engineering and redoing Cape Fear and a bike trail and stormwater and water and sewer. Do we have a contractor that's going to come back and make that grade right, or how did we miss? That's part of the brand-new road that we just did 2 years ago.
It is. I don't know if that's going to be covered. It was inspected by our staff and accepted, so I don't know if they'll come back and cover that, but.
So in the future, when we're inspecting and accepting those, are we running any kind of elevation shots to make sure that the elevation, I mean, this is a grade issue. That means the pipe is not flowing in the right direction. It wasn't graded. So it might have been put in the ground. It might have been the right size. It might have been clear of debris. But if we're not checking the grade.
You're 100% correct. Our inspector should have called this. The grade is wrong, and we should have called it. Whether we can go back and that liability on the contractor, I don't know. But we can look at that.
So this goes to the overall project management and construction and what we're doing as inspections and as-built, which is something that town hasn't had in the past, is good as-built records when we put utilities in.
Yes, sir.
We just need to make sure we have that policy and procedure in place that has a complete checklist that gives staff the authority to not accept a piece of work or to make sure it's all there, because we're raising utility bills all the time to pay for this stuff, and if we have to go back and redo something, because it's just a hard pill to swallow. I
agree. You're absolutely right. This was part of our Phase A. So
Right.
Phase B, I feel like we did a better job. We can definitely continue to improve. We have had a few hiccups with Phase B, and that contractor has come back and honored this.
So I know Ms. Fox worked with us over the past 2 years, and we've talked about having some more teeth in our town contracts and processes for how we get that quality control and assurance and the balance between hiring an outside third-party project manager for tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars versus doing it in-house. But we've got to come up with a solution on these. We can't go back and keep doing. So make that checklist a little more in-depth.
Thorough.
Roger that. Yes, sir. 4A, the marina. The next two is 4A and 4B. That's all areas that were on the edge of Phase C, and our recommendation is going to be to add those into Phase C. So they've got a high cost of both these, the 4A and 4B, but I think once you lump those in with when we're already going through Phase C and digging up that area of street anyway, doing other utility upgrades, it's just going to be a cost savings for us if we do it and lump it in with the other water, sewer, street improvements that are being done at that time. The last one is our priority 5, and this is basically the Phase D area, so it would be still several years off. This one, we have had the survey complete. This is a pretty massive area, but they are modeling it. Engineering Services, who's doing the study now, we'll probably have this for you hopefully by October is our plan to have some more details on what their recommendations are. Again, most of this is in the Phase D area.
Did we budget any of this for this upcoming year?
No, sir. This is outside of what was. This is new data. We were just getting this from our engineer, so we
So
didn't.
this is a total of $800,000 worth of infrastructure need to work on this upcoming year.
That would need to be budgeted, right? Yeah. Now some of this, like Phase C, I know we've put off. Phase D several years off. So some of it we can start hitting this year. Some of it's going to be several years off.
And as we talked today, Ed, I let you know that last week HUD released $168 million to the state of North Carolina specifically for these related things, disaster mitigation, infrastructure in general. So how's that money get dispersed down in the municipalities? I spoke to Dale Walters today, the Flood Committee Chair. He and I will approach Senator Peterson and see if he has any idea. In July, there was discussion about a czar managing all the money and farming it out accordingly. So that would be good. It seems to me the town has everything in place to go do,
Right.
take action on these priorities. So, and I would wager we're probably ahead of most municipalities up to this point. I hope.
Yeah. So get.
So as soon as, I mean, as Joe Dan pointed out, what can we do this year based on what we have in the budget? And then whoever we need to lobby and influence to affect a better outcome or to manage these. Top 5 plus an A and a B for 3 and 4.
Yes, sir. So yeah, any of those types of opportunities would be, we can jump on them. Things we are moving forward, thank you, Brian, for moving forward on, is with our, the valves that we're putting on the street ends on Canal Drive. So quite a few have been put in now, which is your second bullet here. And then there's several that have been ordered, and we're looking at installing hopefully by the end of September for the remaining. This was a project that was a 5-year plan, and we're 2 years ahead of schedule knocking it out this year. So kudos for Brian for making it work. He actually found, and Mark too, sorry, both of them worked hard. But they actually did find several vendors and work to get the price down, and their staff has been working really hard on this project. So a lot of you have worked hard on it too, Mayor. I know you've worked hard on this one as well. Water study we did approve, I believe, back in April, is something that Engineering Services is working on for us. Engineering Services is having our staff compile several well samples. That data will be used to develop what is the best treatment facility that we need. We've talked about a nano plant, a RO plant, different types of things. So they'll come back with some recommendations there. The land use plan, believe it or not, is a big part of this study too, because they'll be looking at what are the future, what is the town planning for the build out of the rest of the lots in Carolina Beach and the redevelopment, and based on that, what are our capacity needs going to be? If the land use plan says we're going to put skyscrapers all across our CBD, then we're going to need to look at what are those capacities. So we need to plan for what your vision is, what the community's vision is based on what we're seeing for that land use plan. So a very important document. August 21st, that's our meeting. Analysis of storage and treatment locations is being finalized, and then we're hoping, it may be sooner in this. I put kind of worst case, I'm hoping we can have it a little sooner, but I put January down here as when that'll be back in front of you. The engineer will actually come back and present to you. We built that into his contract. This is another item, so that is my last slide.
I have a handful of questions for you, Ed.
Yes, sir.
I've rewatched the workshop since I wasn't here, so I just want to follow up in regards to, have you heard back from FEMA in regards to the docks? I know you were waiting to see.
Yes, Debbie Dex and I have been working with them, and we have, I think it's next week, we have a meeting with them, but we've continued to talk to them, and we got a email, I think yesterday, from our rep from FEMA, that they have all the information that they need to move forward with our request for the south and east side. So we are still, we've provided them with everything, and we've got a phenomenal rep now that's really helping push this project forward. We've let them know, I put that timeline in front of you, we've let them know
November, December.
yes sir, we want to move forward, and we need to have an answer from them. So,
So then my follow-up question is, have we reached out to the people who are using the slips on the other side to see about extending another month or two, to pull in a little more revenue and give them a little more time until we need to start shuffling around?
yes, we can, we're doing month to month with them, so we can keep them around a little bit longer. Yes, sir.
Update for people out there in regard to the street signal that's going to be at Hamlet. March 31st of 2021 looks like it's when it's going to be installed. I saw your update on that. I've yet to see, so I saw on the town website that we have the application process for a police officer and for the town manager, but I haven't seen anything for an interim manager. I thought we were going to start pushing that as of 2 weeks ago.
I think that's already closed.
Is
It's
it?
already closed, and you do have several applications to review in closed session.
Okay. The open house for the Clarendon Avenue multi-use path, do we have an update when we think that's going to happen?
Is Jerry here? Jerry does have Jerry's not here, but we do have a date. I think it's early September is when he was.
Can you have them follow up with this by the end of this week? on that
Absolutely,
date?
yeah.
No, that was like, they wanted to see a rendering just to get a look at it, because a lot of,
And he does have a rendering.
yeah, and with the, to just show how it crosses at some point in time between the school and the park.
Okay.
Right, one side of the road to the other.
And for what's going on to land use plan for having the extended meetings, in regards to the contract, are we going to have to come more out of pocket for having to extend some of those meetings?
We will, and I don't know if we got a proposal, Jeremy, if we got a proposal back from Stewart on extension.
Yeah, so it's for every extra meeting that wasn't budgeted is 1,500, but we have, so that's one extra meeting as of now.
Cool.
But we did have contingency funds in the budget for that.
Awesome, that's all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Good report, Ed.
Ed, thanks very much. Before we move into public comment, as a reminder, 3 minutes. I've got Tom next to me. He is fantastic at timing. Nothing personal, but he will nudge me, and I will be forced to. Ed, worth pointing out, in public comment, that's a chance to make comment on the public nudity ordinance that we'll be discussing and moving towards tonight. So it will not be open to public comment when we get to that item of business. If there's something to be discussed on that from anybody out in the public, right now, public comment is the time to do that. So with that, I have 4 people who had signed up previously. Deb LeCompte, you're first.
Make a motion.
Not for public comment, no.
Good evening.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Thank you for letting me speak with you tonight. Deb LeCompte, 307 Charlotte Avenue. On June 21st, 1893, the world's first Ferris wheel, named after the designer George Washington Gale Ferris Jr., debuted at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. In 1909, the city of Santa Monica was faced with a problem: how to dispose of their sewer. Ultimately, a 1,600-foot pier was built with a pipeline underlying that distributed treated sewer into the ocean. Luckily, they discontinued that practice in the 1920s. It was the first concrete pier on the West Coast. And in 1915, a builder built a wider pier to the south of the municipal pier for amusements, thus creating 2 piers in one. The Santa Monica Municipal Pier is managed by a corporation created by the City Council. However, the amusement portion of the pier is owned and operated by a private organization out of Oklahoma. The Navy Pier in Chicago was opened to the public on July 15th, 1916, and it was originally known as the Municipal Pier. In 2011, the operation of Navy Pier was handed over to a newly established Navy Pier, Inc., a 501c3 corp, who's hired out a management company who manages that pier. The Galveston Pleasure Pier opened in May of 2012. It is owned solely by a businessman who runs several restaurants and hotels on Galveston Island. It is located on the site of the original pier that had amusements from 1943 to 1961, which was destroyed by Hurricane Carla. On May 20th, 2011, the Koch development out of St. Louis, Missouri opened the Myrtle Beach Skywheel at a whopping cost of $12 million. It sits on a deck that is 20 feet above sea level to protect it from storm surge, and they also own skywheels in Panama City, Florida, and Newport, Kentucky. The effort in Myrtle Beach was led by the Myrtle Beach Downtown Redevelopment Corporation, and their board of directors are both active and present and future members of downtown community in Myrtle Beach. And this initiative was established by the City Council of Myrtle Beach. Their mission is to bring business development into Myrtle Beach and to revitalize their business community. So you're probably asking why I'm sitting here giving you all this history on amusements and Ferris wheels. And it goes back to over several weeks. There have been many comments on social media about the probability of losing the amusements at the Boardwalk. So I made a promise to do a little bit of work, a little research, so I did. And most of the commenters wanted a permanent solution. So I've conducted that over the last couple of weeks. Of course, everything that I've found, there is no city-owned Ferris wheel. It's all privately owned. However, with carousels, there is one community in Binghamton, New York, that has 6 carousels that are operated by the Parks and Rec Department, but they were donated carousels back in the 20s by a local businessman who donated those to the Parks and Rec. And I'll forward all that to Eric so he can take a look at it.
Tom's telling me 3.5 minutes, but we did talk about this a little today, Ed, maybe connecting the tissue between Randy, who manages and brings the carnival back and forth, with, I don't know, I'm throwing it out there, the Harris Teeter lot, which may not have anything on it next year, who knows?
Right.
But linking people up there may be some options.
Right. So while I believe it's not feasible, let alone advisable, for a municipality to run amusements, I do believe it is the business of our town government to create an environment that's investment friendly, to bring in outside organizations. With this in mind, I'm here tonight to ask council to consider reestablishing the Business and Economic Development Committee and moving forward with trying to find investors and businesses that would generate year-round revenue streams in Carolina Beach. With more and more of our current residents being year-round, I believe it's imperative that we actively seek viable businesses that would thrive in our beautiful beach community. And as a side note, I think we should remember that the citizens of Carolina Beach built the old library building by selling one brick at a time to the community. So we are a resilient community, and I think together, if we work, with the continued working together, I think we can achieve a whole lot.
Thanks.
So thanks.
Thanks, Deborah.
Jill Zimmerman. Just please let Kim know your address, please.
I'm Jill Zimmerman, it's 1423 South Lake Park Boulevard. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My husband and I have owned a condo at Sands 5 since 2003. And about 2 weeks ago, I emailed the town council regarding, there was a redevelopment next door to us, and how this redevelopment is going to intrude 50 feet further into the dunes than what are the present setbacks. Now, I'm both very disappointed and disheartened because I think this was kind of a negligent manner in which this redevelopment has been permitted. So what I found out is as a part of a CAMA permit, minor permit application, actual notice should be given to the adjacent property owners. This, in fact, was not done. There was a notice sent out, but it was returned for insufficient address, and it was returned back to the developer. The developer knew it had not been received. He did not notify anyone that he had received that back. That was on June 7th. On June 18th, the permit was issued. And what we found out since that is we made a request for a third-party hearing for CAMA. And what we found out during that process is what has happened with it and what occurred. And what I'd like to do is just kind of read real quick what was referred to from the CAMA's general counsel, shared information and their findings about what they found. And I want to quote this, that it says, "The record before the commission indicates that the LPO, which would be the permitting officer, Miles Murphy, did not follow the procedures set forth in Director Davis's memo." Now, Director Davis sent out something that said you had to inform the people. There had to be actual notice. This was not given. The LPO, Miles Murphy, stated he recalls the permittee mentioning that at least one of the notice letters had been returned and not delivered. The LPO stated he believes this was in a conversation after the permit had been issued. Apparently, the LPO did not take any action to determine whether the permittee had provided notice as required by the commission's rules. That's the end of the quote. I also was told over the phone by the LPO he would have no way of knowing if that letter had been returned, but yet, in fact, he did know at the time when I spoke to him. Also, from the staff recommendation, the general counsel also states that when the letter was returned to the permittee on June 9th, but before the issuance of the permit, the permittee was obligated to notify the LPO of the failure of the notice to Sands 5. This, in fact, did not occur. At that point, the permit should have been revoked, and we should have had the opportunity to go forward and get the opportunity that we have to make comments about it when we should. I don't feel the planning department has been overly forthcoming regarding it. I left a phone message that was not returned. I made a request for information that was ignored. I did make a FOIA request, which has been fulfilled, so thank you very much. We also found out from a July 31st email from the planning director that a meeting was held in March on site at the 1415 South Lake Park. And the concern was expressed that we might have objections from the property owners about but also minimize the loss of the oceanfront view by saying, this is from the planning director, that the development would cause some line of view obstructions. However, we're losing an entire 90 degrees of our view to the north. Okay, the property could have been redeveloped in a manner more consistent with the surrounding properties. A review of the above facts, the ones that I've stated, that is from general counsel, is that the planning department was aware that there were objections, and the LPO was fully aware he was not following regulations when the permit was issued. We as adjoining property owners were prevented from having an opportunity.
Jill, I don't like to cut you off. I've just gone to 3 minutes, 30 seconds. I did say 3, but is the forensics that you presented out, you have it documented to show, to send to council or to the town manager?
Yes, it actually
Okay.
has been sent by electronic email to Miles Murphy
Okay.
by general counsel. All I want to, if you just give me a minute to finish up, it will have an impact on our property values, environment, our enjoyment. Developers been given a privilege which is not available to the rest of us. That means that we cannot extend our building further into the ocean. But I think the most important thing is that the citizens need to know that by making a change in 2016 to setbacks, this kind of development can continue. And I don't want that to be the norm for Carolina Beach development, that we're going to put buildings 50 feet into you know, the dunes, and it's going to sit out that much farther. So I appreciate very much you give me the opportunity to come forward and express my concerns about it. and sincerely hope you will look into maybe there's a way to have a stipulation or something that we could tweak that a little bit, that maybe buildings could, in ample setbacks, don't have to be put out that far. So I don't really know, but hopefully something we can do to prevent it from happening again. And I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Dennis McKee, sir.
Good evening, council members. Appreciate your time this afternoon. Most of y'all probably know my name. I'm 707, 705 Canal, I'm sorry. I've sent all of you emails about private dock use, and today I got some information back from y'all. So my talk has changed 2 or 3 times today every time I get a new email. It all started when Joe came and gave me a letter stating I was violating some ordinances. I took the letter.
Code enforcement.
I tried reading it. I tried going through the ordinances and see what I was doing, and quite frankly, they're kind of vague. On liveaboards, the definition of liveaboard is one thing. I don't want to be a marina. That's not what I'm trying to be. What I want to do is be able to use my docks, have friends park their boats there, and I'm talking to high dollar boats, Hatterses, sailboats, and come down on the weekends and enjoy them and be able to sleep on their boat. From reading these ordinances, floating homes are prohibited. And you define floating homes as homes built on floats without propulsion. I agree. It also says the marinas may allow liveaboards. I don't want to be a marina, but I just want people to be able to stay on their boat overnight. I provide ample parking. I got a unique situation. I've got a duplex and I've got an empty lot. So parking is not an issue. I provide restroom facilities for them. They do not pump out. I'm a boat captain. I got a 100-ton ticket. I know the regulations, and I wouldn't allow anybody to pump out. One of the boats that was there can't even pump out. It's a Great Lakes boat. It can't pump out. I mean, it can't throw overboard. He has to go to a pump out facility. The regulations require a pump out facility for over 10 boats. I never want to have more than a couple. You know, I got 4 slips. I don't ever participate having more than 2 boats there that somebody may want to spend a weekend on. I think it's all an interpretation of these ordinances. We could change a few texts, we could change a little bit of wording, or we could interpret it as written, and it wouldn't be a problem. I thank all of y'all for taking the time to read my emails, and some of you have gotten back with me. I hope it was comprehensive enough you understand where I'm at.
So where are you located? I'm sorry. What was your address again?
705 and 707.
What street?
Canal.
Canal. I'm sorry.
I'm over here.
Find you.
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah, and I've been here since 1999. I've lived down here on a permanent basis for 10 years before I had to start renting my house to pay the property taxes at 08. And when my wife retires in another couple of years, we're moving back down here, permanent residence.
I replied to you today, Dennis, on top of Ed's, and it looks like a text amendment is probably in order to align private docks with a commercial marina, and assuming that those 7 stipulations were met.
Okay.
And they're in the ordinance today, so.
And those
Ed, please take a look at that.
I'm sorry. Those 7 I agree with, but I have a bathroom. I can put a unisex sign on it, and then it'll be, you know, I don't have 2 bathrooms, one for male, one for females, but we're only talking to a couple of people.
Ed, can you take that for action? Thanks, Dennis.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And do I need to file for an ordinance change or anything, or?
If a text amendment is in order, I don't.
Well, we are bringing back the harbor ordinance, so we will look at those regulations.
That's a good time to maybe match. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Dennis.
Thank you very much.
Eric Bixby?
Absolutely, I was gonna, but.
And Ed, you know, to that point, I know a lot of the marinas don't define what a liveaboard is, and I think maybe if the town did define, I mean, each marina has defined it differently, what they consider to be a liveaboard. I know you're not a marina, but, I mean, I do know that that's been a little bit of contention in different neighborhoods.
Sure, we can clean that up.
And I'm not talking about transient boats or the junk boats, I'm talking about documents. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Eric.
Hey, yeah, I'm Eric Bigsby on behalf of Kevin Murphy and Ocean Cure. Just here to, he couldn't be here tonight, but I just want to read a message from Kevin for the council and everyone involved with helping to put on the event. So he writes, "Thank you for continuing to support Life Rolls On. Without the town's support and resources, the event could not have been the success that it was." He did write, "Especially thank you to Steve Shuttleworth for coming out year after year and dedicating so much time." Again, I saw a lot of people out there. I saw many of you guys were out there as well. So very cool. We surfed with over 77 different surfers, and we had about 400 volunteers. So it was a very excellent turnout. Weather and things we could not control were perfect. So it sounds like we'll see you at the Intergalactic Surf Championship, known as the Wampa Run. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, with
Just
a
make
helmet
sure
on.
you're in his heat.
Oh, I hope so.
Me too.
I'm ready.
Hey, thanks for coming, Eric. Appreciate that. And anybody else in public want to approach council? And, well, okay, with that, let's move on. We have one item for public hearing. Who's tackling this? The Wilson have, okay.
Yes.
Mayor, council, good evening. This is a review of Wilson Avenue traffic pattern. Currently, Wilson Avenue is one way going westbound. The Baptist Church asked the town to review the circulation pattern in this area. It was reviewed by the Police Advisory Committee as well as Technical Review Committee. And their main concern was accessing their property their parking lot off of Wilson Avenue and having the ability to drive down Wilson Avenue towards Lake Park Boulevard to access their property and not having to go all the way around to 3rd Street to Lake Park around the block to get to the church property. And here's just kind of a view of the Wilson Avenue currently. And one of the problems with the one-way traffic pattern is cars do go the wrong way. And here they're at the intersection where it's clearly is one way, and then making a left-hand turn onto Lake Park Boulevard.
Looks like Joanne's car.
So staff proposed to create a two-way pattern up to the church property and also to the intersection of the business on the north side as well. And this is between Remax and the Baptist Church, where you still would not have the ability to exit off of Lake Park Boulevard. And this is mainly due because of the Remax building creates a blind curve at that intersection, is the reason why it was dedicated as one way to begin with. And this happened, it was a number of years ago that this was, signage was created. So if council so chooses, staff would propose markings on the pavement, signage, and even with a raised median where need to be emergency vehicles could cross, and also maybe some bollards to prevent people from making an unsafe movement onto Lake Park Boulevard, but where the access to the church property and Remax could still happen.
That's 90 feet.
Yes, so approximately first 90 feet of Lake Park Boulevard. So the signage on 3rd and Wilson would be, sort of said, a no outlet, no through traffic. Here's the text for Wilson Avenue shall be dedicated as two-way for that portion up until Lake Park Boulevard. And I'll answer any questions that you have. This was advertised as a public hearing. I know
Yeah.
some representatives of the Baptist churches here as well.
Jeremy, I just had one question. I understand the no leftover coming out of that. Is there a reason why you didn't look at a right out only? From Wilson onto Lake, right out only?
But you can't see to do it right.
That building's
You
straight
can't
through.
see to do the left.
Yeah, you can't see, and I think
Can't see to do
the
the
right term was, it was tough to see as well.
Okay. Anybody else before
What's the
I
cost
open
on
up?
that for the town, Jeremy?
It's very minimum cost. It's just signage and some paint. It's
And a bollard or something. Okay. With that, I make a motion to open the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody from the public would like to approach, sir? Please provide Kim your name and address.
Thomas Tucker, 707 Harper Avenue, and I am Properties Chair and one of the trustees for First Baptist. And Pastor Hal Hyatt sends his regrets. He wanted to be here but couldn't. You know, this is a win-win. It's a safety issue. That's what prompted me to get this thing going again. When the street changed to one-way some years ago, I was a member of the church. I was active in the church, but I wasn't on properties, and it just kind of happened. And I don't know how much notice or knowledge our church had at the time, but it got changed, and it's like, oh, okay. And be honest, I think a lot of people just chose to ignore the sign over years. And I only know one very humble 80-plus-year-old gentleman who got a ticket for going the wrong way. And when he told me that story, and you've never met a more humble, wonderful 80-plus-year-old gentleman in your life, but I thought, Reggie, how in the world would an officer write you a ticket? Why not a warning? He said, I don't know. But he got written up. But you know, it's marked. Well, over time, since I've become the properties chair, we've had a lot of things going on, like hurricane recovery and different things. But more and more, I kept thinking, you know, it's not right to go the wrong way when it's marked that way. And it's not safe, in my opinion, to go out on Lake Park Boulevard to have to access our property in Wilson Avenue. What I've become accustomed to doing here in the last good while is to, from my home on Harper Avenue, I'll go on down Goldsboro, turn right, and then immediately turn right onto Wilson, which keeps me in compliance. Most of our members, though, I suspect, are coming from south to north and then making a left turn at the RE/MAX building onto Wilson. And that concerns me, particularly here in the study on Lake Park that we had last year, and the 1.5 to 2.5 time higher accident rate for a 4-lane highway of that type. So anyhow, we got the ball rolling. Casual conversation with one member of the Police Advisory Committee and another who was here, and they got interested. We met personally, went there, pictures, met with Police Advisory. They were unanimous. And my wording was, let's make it two-way again with no outlet on the Lake Park. That way we've cured the safety issue. We've cured the access, convenience issue, so we can come once again from west to east on Wilson Avenue, or we can still access from Lake Park. And that's paramount for Buddy Blake.
Mr. Tucker, you like what Jeremy's presented, in other words, just to kind of condense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but let me modify that. Just by saying that, I have done some research and looking and taking some pictures, and I even got out. I would have used a tape measure, but I wasn't quite that brave maybe at this age. And if you notice the right-hand photo where you see the Lake Park lane coming from north to south, you see how it's darker. And that is actually like the racetrack, you know, it's dark. The Wilson Avenue is the lighter shade of gray. And I stepped off from where the light shade of gray meets the active part of Lake Park. 3 good steps, which for me is about 10 to 12 feet. And I still had a good line of sight. I even took a few pictures that are more close up, whatever.
Hey, sir, I don't mean to cut you off, but I did say 3 minutes, and I'm trying to
Oh, 3
be
minutes,
disciplined.
okay.
Yeah. So I think you've got a pretty receptive audience, or, you know, at least on this end, from what I can tell. We'll hold off on questions when we close public comment.
If I could say one more statement, I would suggest that maybe a couple car lengths going up Wilson as opposed to 90 feet. It just seems reasonable to me. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anybody else in the public? Nobody wants to get up because I just... Okay, with that, I make a motion to close public comment.
We got some hands back.
There's a young lady out there.
Yeah, that hand was kind
Come
of
on
tucked away.
Come on.
And yes.
Just hang on, they'll be there.
Yeah, I did, but what I said up front was, that was public comment. If there was something to be said about that, given that it's not a public hearing, that if there was a comment on that, deliver it at public comment. But we're not gonna, I'm not opening up for public comment at this item. Sure. I'll,
Right now, we're having a public hearing on a matter.
yeah, no, yeah.
So we
Thanks,
need to
town
conclude
attorney
this
advises
matter.
against, so.
After we close this, we could.
We're having a conversation about a specific issue, and after that, I think the mayor can address whether or not we still have an opportunity to discuss the other.
Maybe we can make.
But we're on a very specific request for an item.
And we're about to get to it, pending anything else. And motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion closed. Council? I didn't frankly see any.
Other than, I guess, who made the determination to go to the 90 feet? Does it have to be 90 feet?
That was just, it was drawn up to the, essentially the drive of where to access the property.
Is there anything magical about that?
Number.
It's not, other than just wanted to make sure, you know, vehicles making that right-hand turn, that, you know, they were able to route themselves, you know, in a clearance.
If they don't go there, they can turn around.
And then just cost.
Okay.
Curious to what, 20 grand, 30 grand?
Oh,
5,
God.
2 grand for signs?
3 maybe?
Yeah.
With striping, labor, a couple of signs,
Yeah.
a bollard, 2 grand, max.
I have nothing against it.
Makes sense. Tom,
Yeah, I don't have any problems with it either.
do I have a motion?
Maybe pull back to 70 feet?
Well, I would say I would just ask staff to work with the church and
Yeah.
look at that distance, and if you can shorten it, shorten it.
Yeah, and see
And
what,
the church,
Yeah, I would just want to make sure that they didn't get past the place where they could turn around.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody to have to
Dead end.
not be able to turn around and go back the other way.
right, good point.
And affect the traffic coming in.
So if you have someone coming out towards Lake and they realize it's one way, they can't get
Yeah,
out.
you don't want them to shoot around there if somebody comes around the corner and then we'll have an accident, so don't want to do that.
Yeah, the motion to amend doesn't specify a distance that I'm about to deliver, so that's good.
Yeah.
Give you some flex to work that. So with that, I make a motion to amend Article 6, Schedule Section 16-208, Schedule F, traffic patterns on, the traffic pattern on Wilson at the intersection of North Lake Park Boulevard for one-way traffic for a distance to be determined by staff and review. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Thanks, Jeremy. Yes, 5 minutes recess and return at 8:40, if I can see that right.
All right, so I'm gonna bid out this Hamlet rescue bid document.
oh, man.
Can you do that?
I'm gonna go. And what I didn't move on there is
So I want to do a design build
Yeah, I was trying to
See if we
figure
get
that out.
contract with the guy. Casper.
Yeah.
pulled out. You involved in that one?
You have a young lady that needs to speak.
Yeah,
to
I
you.
just waved her on. Okay, let me come around. Let me come. I don't like looming. I'll get, yeah, if you guys want to stick around, or is it something you just want to deliver to us?
Yeah, 500.
We'll be back up in those 2 minutes. We'll let you guys come up. Once the break, the thing is just during that specific thing, we only talk about specific. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and pop it back over to the.
With all the stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you got about 5 more minutes.
I don't know when we're gonna do it all.
You don't have to be three.
Or 10 seconds, whatever you want to say.
Generally, the most cogent deliveries are the ones that are shorter. If you can get the bottom line up front, man, that resonates.
Oh, yeah.
I would prefer you to come. Yeah.
People who are watching online, and we need your name and that.
It ends up in minutes in your face. That's the case. We're always in the minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we're gonna get to
See you later, sweetheart.
building bikes itself or everything else. That's basic. That's the law. I like to try to deliver that now. You bet.
We got a lot of work to do. Hiring engineers start working on the lake. Hiring engineers sitting there, you know. You didn't even get a carousel.
I got food trucks all lined up.
Dude, your budget needs to be like this big.
That's what I'm saying. I got carousels.
I mean, Parks and Rec, and then you got a pool this big.
But in Chattanooga, we had the carousel, we also have a carousel. There's a school in Chattanooga where I came from that this guy started about
Hey, Jeremy, are you carrying this for Miles? All right, back from recess. Item 7A, text amendment considering amending Chapter 28, Watercraft Beaches, Coastal Parks, Article 4, Section 28-166, public nudity.
Mayor, council, last meeting, the town council requested staff to bring back this section of the code to address what is unlawful, and the specific issue was with bathing suits. And with removing the term buttocks, it would allow for more flexibility in type of bathing suit that you could allow by removing that the term from being an unlawful. And now answer any questions that you may have.
No.
That was the shortest presentation you
I was playing it safe.
How did you pronounce
That's another 20%.
no idea what you just said
You
or
don't
what
want
we're
to have to say
hearing
more than
about.
We looked at it, and just in short, you're striking one word.
You're
And
striking-
Noel, when we talked,
Yeah.
it's an attempt,
You're
it's really a
striking-
move to align.
Correct. You're
With the
striking
state.
the one word because in 1998, there was a case where the North Carolina Supreme Court found that it is not indecent exposure to expose your buttocks. So therefore.
Expose what?
Yeah, where's Miles Murphy? Yeah. And so as a result of that, there was also some revision to the indecent exposure statute that further limited what does and does not constitute indecent exposure. If you were to hand out a citation for somebody wearing a thong, then they would likely challenge it, and they may very well prevail.
Counsel?
Are we opening this up for public hearing, or do we just make an emotion?
It is not
Okay.
a public hearing.
Great, then I'd make a motion, we approve it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Well, that
I'll talk to you. You can shout it out from there, ma'am, if you can do it brief. I know you came up to me before. I can do that for you since you can hear me. One word was taken out of the town ordinance on public nudity. That was striking buttocks as an illegal, as indecent exposure, rather. So that is not in the town ordinance anymore as indecent, and it's consistent with the state, Noel, what was adopted recently based on a case in 1998.
Case in 1998, and further revisions to the statute on indecent exposure, which constitutes whether or not something is a crime.
And that's,
Okay, is that open, did I understand that's not open for?
no, ma'am, it's not. I gave everybody in the audience a chance when we opened up public comment to discuss it. I had no takers when we were open, so I'm sorry, I have to move on.
And I am sorry that we missed it, because, an 10-year-old member of the community has a very strong opinion on it. And, I thought it was a good homeschool-like lesson to learn about local government and issues. And this is the first time we've ever done anything like this, and we were late. Matter of fact, we didn't know where we were going, and this was just a subject that I
Do you want to take, I'll give you 1 minute if you come up, ma'am, is that okay, 1 or 2 minutes? I don't mean to expedite, but I'm stepping out of course here.
I guess all we really wanted to find out is, we come to Carolina Beach, and we know a lot of people do, because it's known as a family beach. And we're just, at thought of showing more of the body than what's already been seen, even to keep standard with the state, with the government. We just wanted to have a voice on it, so we showed up, and I'm sorry we're late.
No, that's, hey, life happens.
So, I'm a Christian, and if I go to the beach and I find somebody wearing not enough clothes to where I can see some of their privates and some parts of their body that I don't want to see, I just think if God was walking on the beach and he sees somebody that was not wearing a lot of clothes, what would God think?
No.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. No, it was brave to come up, no doubt about it.
Good job.
I'm going to talk about the website now since we moved 7B to following 9A to 9B. Is that you too, Jeremy? Yes, sir. Okay.
So the planning department was tasked with updating the website, and our current provider contract is expiring in February. And so we first wanted to make a determination, do we want to stay with them, at what cost for these improvements that, for updating it? Then we want to reach out to other providers to see what they could do for us. And staff reviewed proposals, and we got together, had a meeting, and we recommended Granicus, who we thought they did a demo for town council at the workshop, the last council meeting, who was highly recommended from the city of Wilmington. And they had flexibility and with forms and registrations and email notifications that are and online payments that are very easily made for what we don't have those functions now on our website. Integration between website and social media. If we update our website with notifications, it automatically integrates with social media that we could set up. So we're not having to go back to multiple accounts and update the same information. We just do it one time, the information's out there. It rolls out automatically website upgrades. We don't have to contact a current provider. We have to almost know what the appropriate question to ask to get the answer. For, as an example, our mobile website, it was lacking, it was hard to read, it was not functional. We asked them, and they're like, yeah, that was a upgrade that we did a year ago, but we were never notified of that was even a possibility. So this is just, we automatically get those upgrades. We get a free website redesign after 5 years, and the freedom to modify the website without hidden charges. For example, here's our current website. If we wanted to just rename projects to report a violation, we would have to go through our vendor, and there would be a charge associated with that.
Jeremy, is this new website going to be able to figure out how to get our audio and video council meetings streaming so that I don't hear about it every month?
Unfortunately, that's separate.
Every month? But it's interfaced, right?
Should
Yeah, that is definitely something we will explore, yes. Yes, sir. And we want to go this coincide with when our current provider is expiring in November. So our plan as of now is to start the website design process. We would complete that in October. We would have staff training provided for when we went forward to content to migrate what's our website now into, right now we have 300 pages that's out there. So we want to condense that and migrate, okay, what's needed, what needs updated, what needs to go. And then, once we have completed that and we met with a representative of each department, then we will go live. And that is, the goal is January.
Does
That'll
it
start
include
the new
mobile
year.
app?
What's that?
Does it have a mobile app tied in with it?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, resident made a good point on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I watched the workshop. It seemed pretty on point.
Yeah.
If there's any other questions, I'll answer, but
Council?
staff's excited to get to work on this.
The only, I mean, minimum amount of clicks to get to where you need to go is usually
Yeah.
ideal, however defined, 2, 3, but so. anything
I saw. I'm 100% cool with
I
it.
was impressed with the presentation, and I'm excited to finally
Yeah.
see a website that's user-friendly.
Yeah.
I agree, and just for the public, we did see the presentation in our workshop a couple weeks ago, so I know we look like we're just kind of breezing through it, but we've seen the presentation, and we think staff has done their research, so I'm good with it.
So you're looking for direction to continue to work with Granicus, or to go with Granicus, rather. That's what I see as an action requested into a contract.
Yes, sir.
You got it.
Yeah, and
Head nods, Clyde.
this allows the staff to make changes themselves. We don't have to go through the vendor all the time.
Correct, instantly, yes, and that's part of the staff training.
Right. And that makes a big difference, because that removes all the hidden charges we have.
Yes.
Yep.
That's
Okay,
great.
thanks, Jeremy. Ed, I guess you're up with the pay plan?
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
No.
Mayor, Council, this has been a little under a year process of we've been working on the pay plan. Started out with the police department, and we've morphed into the pay plan for the town of Carolina Beach employees. The focus, one of the focuses has been on COLA. We did a pay study a little over 5 years ago, and that was one of the consultants' recommendations and staff's recommendations as we move forward with making sure we maintain COLA that is equivalent to the market, what consumer price index, so we keep, we don't have to continue doing a pay study. We kind of faltered from that path, and we are here again. Want to very appreciative for council. There's a lot of communities out there that would not have moved forward with recognizing employees, and you've done that, and that means a lot to all the staff at Carolina Beach, that you're taking it seriously, and it's going to help with our recruitment and retention. So very appreciative. As we've talked about, we have moved forward with implementing the police pay study with our patrol division, and we're hoping to move forward with more of the pay study at the end of this year, depending on what we have left in the budget and what happens. Hopefully we don't have one of those H words this year, and we can make some of that happen. We are, I've been talking with Holly about evaluations. We are working on a plan for evaluations that will hopefully improve the conversations and documentation that we have between a supervisor and subordinate. And we want those to occur with your annual evaluation, and that type of conversation to occur more often. So the employee knows what they need to do to be successful and what the expectations are from that supervisor. So we're trying to improve those relationships. So I just want to give you a little background. That's something that we've been working very hard on internally with our staff. What we're asking for you tonight is to look at, we're not allocating any money, but what you have before you in your packet, I'm sorry they're printed out where you're missing, they're kind of, the last piece went over to the other page, but this is the new pay ranges, what all of our employees, they start at a grade 10 and go out to a grade 40. So, and those are the new pay ranges that we would be adopting, and then hopefully bringing folks up to where they should fall within those pay ranges at a later time. So you're not allocating any money, you're just allocating those new pay ranges.
Adopting it.
Well, my question would be, I understand you're saying we're allocating the pay range, but it's got to be paid for somewhere. So if we allocate that these be the pay ranges, how do we fund that?
So the pay range will be where those folks, if you're a grade 14, then you should be between 33 and whatever that 40, 50, okay, 14 is 33 to 50. So that employee now is probably already somewhere in that range, most likely. So with the pace, what we're doing now is just saying that is the new range. It's just moved up a little bit. Right now, we're not allocating any money. We do want to make them whole with the pay study to put them back where they should be in that pay range. that's not what you're doing tonight. You're just telling them, the employees, that your pay range is at market value and this is what it is.
So Ed, let's just take like a laboratory manager.
Okay.
We're going to have a recommended grade of 16. Am I understanding that currently our laboratory manager might be a grade 14 or 15, and we're moving that position's description up to a 16?
Yes, many people have moved up.
So what we're doing is we're resetting the recommended grade for different job descriptions throughout town hall.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
And that individual that fills that spot today, what I heard you say is most likely will already be, even if there are 14 today and they're moving to a 16, they most likely will be somewhere between that minimum and midpoint on their current pay scale. So just moving them from a 14 to 16 doesn't increase their current salary.
Right, that's exactly right. It does give them more room to grow in that position.
Okay, so, and over the next number of years, theoretically, they would be able to move in that position without having to have it reclassified. I guess the question I would have is, as you work with department heads and seniority of existing employees versus new employees, when we trade, there's a lot of politics in the HR department that you're going to need to be cautious, aware of, right? You're going to have some senior guys that might be a 14 that you're moving to a 16, and our brand-new person at a 16 comes in, is making the same thing that someone here that's been here for 15 years.
We are working through those issues, so we've got the pay ranges, but you're right, there's a lot of compression that's going to occur as we bring new people on. We're hiring a lot, I mentioned we're hiring a lot of new people. So we bring those new people on, and they're going to be right on top of those folks that have been here longer.
And that, to me, is the feedback I've gotten throughout town hall. And I haven't really had any complaints. Don't take that wrong. Staff hasn't been, but they've said, hey, there's instances where new employees are going to get hired that are going to be within a hair of where employees that have been here for 15 years, and justifying the longevity of one employee versus a new employee. I applaud you and Holly for having to work through that. That's going to be a delicate balancing act. You're going to have some hurt feelings. I don't want to see us lose employees. We've lost people over the past year. I believe we need to make these recommended grade changes, but you're not specifically tonight saying, let's move this position from a minimum to a midpoint, and that's going to cause the town budget X. That's a decision next year in a budget cycle, is that right?
Yes, and we're hoping we can do some of that this year because we did delay on our COLA, and we will have some of that extra money at the end of this year, as long as, depending on what happens. So there's a potential we can implement a portion of the pay study at the
That should
very
be a
end of this.
manager's discretion. That
Yes,
should
sir.
be
Within the
a
person's
department head and the manager, or the interim manager, or whatever that position is.
Right.
And HR. I'm assuming you're going to make those recommendations and have that discussion with department heads.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've been working along side by side with our department heads, and department heads have been working with staff to keep them informed, so.
And the only reason I'm belaboring that is we heard as a council over the past 7 months, when we went through the issues with the police department, we heard how, and we went through a manager, and we made all those tough changes we've had over this past year and a half, and people have said morale at town hall is, and we really worked hard, I think, as a budget cycle to make sure we're indicating to staff that we appreciate what they're doing. We are restricted by the income the town has. Just want to make sure we're not going to upset a bunch more morale issues around town hall.
This is, we're trying to make it as transparent as possible, and this is a huge positive for the town of Caroline Beach employees. So I want to keep moving it forward in that direction. I think it's not happening as fast as a lot of the employees would like, but we are moving forward. So that's a good positive thing. So thank you for bringing those points out.
Thanks for the presentation. I think, did we buy down some of the pay studies, basically net amounts? There was a number that.
For the police.
You're right, it was 700,000 or something. I'm picking a number out, and then the adoption of the FY 19-20 budget drew some of that 700, call it, down by 150 through the COLA implementation.
We're hoping that's going to be the case, as long as we don't get one of those
Engine COLA, rather.
hurricane things that come around. And so that I think we can make that happen.
Okay, thanks, Ed, that's,
Right.
anything else? Council, so,
Appreciate it.
yep. With that, I make a motion, we adopt the new pay plan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And Ed,
I just
get-
want to make
you got
sure
the-
you're not using our extra $400,000.
We just were having a little side note over here. That 400K is still ours, right?
We like employees.
That's in fund
but-
balance.
That leftover money
Oh,
from
look at
last
that.
year.
Cheshire cat grins there for a few
Just
more
checking.
minutes.
All right,
Or the
Ed.
savings off paying off a town hall.
We didn't forget about that.
We didn't pay that off either.
No.
He didn't answer that, did you notice?
No, I just.
Didn't I? I was just checking to see if that was on the table.
Oh, it's on the table. We're going to pay for it out of room occupancy tax, is what I heard.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you, Harley.
ROT.
Thank you.
That's a third rail. I don't.
That money's spoken.
All right, Ed, what do you got?
All right, Jeremy, help me get back to my, there you go,
Full-timers.
thank you. Let's see. Give me 1 second. So Mayor, Council, this is something we've talked about quite a bit. We are looking at a grant for the fire department personnel to get us from up to 15 employees. We actually had 12. That's the error there, but so we're averaging between 20 and 30 plus volunteers and 40 plus lifeguards. There is a struggle for volunteers that we've seen over the last 10 years. At one time, we had 40 plus that were typically staying with the town doing over 20 years. Now we're hanging in between 10 to 20, and many of our volunteers are taking full-time jobs and just receiving training from us. Almost all the fire department full-time staff were recruited from our volunteer ranks. So the volunteers have been very crucial. We've hired, most of our folks were at one time volunteers, now are full-time employees. We've looked at cost benefits. The training our full-time employees spend on our volunteers to make them successful is significant. Going up to the minimum 15, which is what OSHA wants to see. And
We spoke about this earlier in the year.
what's that?
Didn't we speak about this earlier in the year? And now we're just putting everything in action.
Right, we're hoping to put it back in action.
I know.
Our call volumes continue to raise.
Yeah, Alan showed us a lot of this data.
You could speed through this. I
Yeah.
think we don't
Yeah,
all
we've
in the
seen
same.
this about 4 times.
And you answered the question earlier, Debbie, on the rollover, the 52K, what it was signed for, and so
Yeah.
totally tracking on what we're being shown now.
So what we're asking for tonight is, we know we're trying hard to get this grant. We put it in, working forward, moving forward. We should know something in the next, hopefully next month, but within the next month where we get the grant. If we get the grant, then we can move forward the 3 employees and start recruitment in October. If we don't get the grant, we will still have enough money in the budget to start recruitment in October and fund those positions this year. What I'm asking for in this presentation is council's permission to move forward with those regardless of whether we do or don't get that grant money, so we can move forward with right sizing our department next year.
Tracking with
Which we knew.
the FY 18-19. I got a motion.
I just want to make sure we're all really understand where Alan told us.
Well,
Look,
we
when
knew
you try
that
to-
if it wasn't going to kick in,
This is a permanent addition to the fire department of those dollars every year forever.
Yep.
And so when we keep hearing why the budget grows, I'm not opposed to it. I think we have to do it. We're going from volunteers to full-time, but there's another,
oh, yes.
It will be an increase, but it is right sizing, so we will reduce some costs by bringing down our volunteer numbers and we're bringing up our full-time. So I think it's a win for the fire in our
Town
community.
grows and the season expands. Okay. Well, with that, then, I make a motion that we roll over 52,500 from the 2018-2019 budget to the 2019-2020 budget, adding 3 members to the fire department with recruitment starting in October. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Yeah, I know there was discussion on this earlier.
A vacancy on the Bike Ped Committee, and Ms. Danielle Kurtz has been appointed to fill that position.
All right. Good. What was that last item that we added on the
Oh,
agenda?
yes.
That was-
I would like to ask the council to consider reactivating the Business and Economic Development Committee. I asked because I know we had that in the past. I think it would be pretty easy just to reactivate an old committee that was basically just closed up. Kim, you remember that? I think we have the mission and the bylaws and everything still in place, and I'd like to reactivate that. There's been a lot of talk, particularly on social media, about how we might attract family-friendly organizations to Carolina Beach, possibility of, like Ms. LeCompte presented tonight, of some amusement rides. If we could have a committee start researching some of these economic opportunities for Carolina Beach, I think would be a good thing.
How long ago did we have that committee in place last time?
I was on that committee 100 years ago, so I believe, you know, I know
Good
what
for 100.
happened. It was about 2008. And at that time, a lot of the members moved away. And believe it or not, back in 2008, we could not get people to fill committees. And so when they moved away, we just didn't have any new members apply to it. And we, you know, a few years ago, I know, Steve, you remember, we had someone come to us and present some opportunities for the Boardwalk, a consultant that wanted us to participate with him. And maybe there's time to revisit some of those. It was
Mr.
probably
Bloker.
for a year, maybe. We probably
Yeah.
had
We're
that
looking
for a
at
year.
ad hoc. We're going to start with ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, yeah,
That
I think
sounds-
that'd be a good
sounds
idea.
reasonable.
Okay.
I just think that'd be good, and let's see if we can get some members to apply, advertise for it. It's up, whatever you guys want to talk about.
I don't have any problems with that. It makes sense to me. Council, anybody?
Makes sense.
Okay. Press. All right.
Forward.
Non-agenda.
That means you have to take it, Leanne.
Yep.
I got the power line committee because I opened my mouth. You can have the, I'll trade you. I'll do the economics. You can have the power line.
I'll take the Economic Development Committee.
I believe in
You
Barry
keep
Power.
power lines.
It's a hot topic.
All right, non-agenda. I'm
Good
looking
merger.
over it.
I'm cool at the moment.
What?
Yep.
Tom?
I'm cool.
Steve? Non-agenda?
No. I'm sure I do. It's coming to me, but start with Joe Dan. He always has something.
I'm
in
cool,
it.
man.
he's
I got
already
everything out I needed there,
Joe
man.
Dan, I'm worried. I
Land.
think you could be in that Geico commercial. That's what I was thinking. I like that beard's coming back. It's looking good.
2 weeks, a little bit of chia seed and bourbon. That's what happens.
68 days and counting.
That's marriage, yes.
Uh-huh. Okay, I just got a few. One was already covered.
It's a dead.
Regarding North Carolina, east-west North Carolina Avenue, have the traffic engineer in the town look at.
So was there a specific intersection? I don't,
It's the four ways, I think, that go from, to the,
Yeah.
right, coming out from the
Yeah,
Island Greenway.
North and south, they don't have a stop sign, but everything else in Wilmington Beach does. It's kind of strike, you know, I stop and then realize, oh,
I have
we're
to
not
stop.
having to stop.
I stop because I jog and I'm really fast. Yes.
True.
So that's 6 stop signs, if my math is right. 3 times
That's
2?
fine.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, can I back? I forgot that. Ed, why is this on our council? What is this thing about the sidewalks? And then we have like 2010 town minutes from.
oh, that was, actually Councilman Garza asked for that information on, what would.
There's been a
some-
good bit of social media chat about the possibility of a sidewalk on Ocean.
Okay,
And
so
Ed said years ago you guys had kind of brought that up.
Yeah, and there's.
And this is some take-home notes. to look
That
at.
was on Ocean, right,
Yeah.
right.
Right,
So-
yeah,
That's what a lot of
Okay,
people have been
okay.
asking about, so to
But-
see if it's something that could
But the
be.
cover letter here had a 5-foot sidewalk on Lake Park to Croker and Lake Park to Dow,
Oh, yeah, that was.
which was interesting. I'm not sure how you get from Lake Park to Dow.
You're on Ocean.
I was
Yeah.
It's desperate.
actually,
Needs some-
I do have a non-agenda item if you bring up the.
so
I-
just, if Jerry was here, he could address that, but there is a proposal in the bicycle plan for
Ocean?
for Ocean, for a multi-use type of path on Ocean
Well,
Boulevard.
there's a problem with that.
If,
That's-
if Tom
Yeah.
doesn't have a problem with it.
Well, it will be. Unless they've changed the process, at 35 miles per hour, the DOT requires you to be 17 and a half feet off of the side of the edge of the road into the right-of-way, and then requires another required 5 foot. And if you look on the houses at Ocean, mine, of course, I have no parking if it happens, because I'm on a crawl space. I'm not up on pylons. But there's a lot of places down there, if you do it on the same side as I do, down toward Lake Park, you can practically shake your hands on the guy that's on his porch, because you're gonna be about this far from it, and he will have no parking. Now, if the DOT would reduce that setback, that might work, but otherwise, you're gonna put a lot of people in bad straits.
So
that
I
they're
would be
gonna
more
have-
interested in talking about a 5-foot sidewalk on Lake Park from the lake to Atlantic Towers.
We're talking about that too. We're waiting for some, Brian, we talked about that. Yeah,
Well, the
with
setback,
DOT, yeah.
the right-of-way
We'd have
on
to
Lake
leave some
Park
parking
is a
places.
lot smaller than it is on Ocean, but they require, now the exception, they'll let you put up, right up there if you put a ditch between you and the road, but that doesn't help you either.
Tom, I don't think it's anything immediate. I think you're looking probably 3 to 5 years. But I got a feeling we're going to see you at
I
public
plan to
comment
live
in the
to be
future.
100, so you better take it out a lot further.
The downside, Tom, is it's not just you. It's all
I know,
residents.
it's a lot of
And
people
from
on the
Ocean to get to the beach, there's a lot of family people out there because of all that development. So if it looks like it's something that is feasible, and I am sorry
Well,
it does affect you.
I'm not
but
accept-
Tom,
It's
give me a
on the,
second.
it's on the table for,
Yeah, it is.
Jerry thinks probably a couple years though.
Well, it'd be easier
I
to
say
do
push it
on
quicker.
the other smaller streets that are city-owned and not state.
Brian, would you mind commenting, I called you about the Ocean Boulevard. You thought we would have to talk to DOT about fixing the area on the shoulders? Just for the public that might still be listening. I know, Jodan, you were on that as well.
Yeah, I've reached out to them. I hadn't heard anything back yet. I left a voicemail. I need to.
Because we don't know if we can do it or if they have to
just
do
if
it
we
or.
can do it, can we just go ahead and do that, or would they be willing to do it, and what would be the time frame? So I'll try to reach out again tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Brian, while you're there, real fast. So the request that went to DOT about 4 weeks ago, we anticipated a reply back 10
Now
weeks.
I'm gonna have knowledge
So
of
we're
that.
about 5 to 6. And that was with the encroachments on Lake Park, as well as the pre-approval, not anything decided, just the pre-approval, what's in the art of possible, speed reductions on Ocean and Lake Park.
I think we've heard back from everything except for the speed reduction, right?
Yeah, we have not got the go-ahead on the pedestrian safety.
We got-
Any day, like any day.
So the encroachments Lake Park were approved? No.
Have a good night, guys.
Okay, so in other words, what I just said, we're still waiting on, got it, okay. That's all I needed. Town Appreciation Lunch next Tuesday, 12 to 2. Joe Dan will
Well,
be
hold on.
with me.
Now I got non-agenda items. Thanks to you, Joe. You've been talking so much, they're popping up in my head. The first one I have is the easement that we didn't get for the Henniker's ditch. Was that on the corner of Hamlet and Charlotte?
No, it's Charlotte.
Charlotte,
Goes the east side of the ditch on Charlotte.
600 block of Charlotte.
So is that the one that has the mulch that's surrounding that entire spot there?
They have stone.
Is it?
Stone
Okay.
driveway
Maybe I'll
there.
look at another one.
Yeah.
So never mind. Second one, I brought this up before. I'd like to see what you guys think about this. The boardwalk, where Cape Fear meets Canal, right there at Crush and Grind. A removable stanchion or something, barrier that can go in there, kind of like how we have in front of the boardwalk. Then on the other side, we block it off as well. That way, evenings, weekends, whatever, wide open. And I propose that we look into possibly open containers. A lot of people down there who want to go see fireworks, who are in a bar, the first thing they got to do is slam that drink and run out there to the boardwalk. So I'd like to see about possibly having that conversation about staging some sort of section, that boardwalk area, that's the downtown business area.
So you had me up until the part about the open container. That's a second conversation we can have, but we have discussed, and we should probably look at on busy public nights, whether those are just Thursdays or
Block
others,
that section.
having the ability to close that section of what would have been Old Woody Hewitt, or some people refer to it as Canal, or whatever that section is behind Brits by
Yep.
that one block. I'd be all for that, and I'd be happy to have that long-term discussion with our town attorney about open containers and where the legality of that
What
is.
the state says.
No.
But as long as
Pull
we're
up that
talking
information
about,
for me.
Jodan, you missed one. I wanted to know, you were talking about the Henniger's ditch and the easement. I wanted to know where we're at with condemning the property going through Carolina Sands so we could have a bike trail. I heard
I
out
mean,
there.
the one we took?
Yeah, I heard we
The
were
one- I thought we
taking some
took-
property.
The end of Pinfish.
Yeah, did we take that property? Did I miss
I
something
was-
at the last
I
meeting?
was
I
softballing
wasn't
that-
here.
I was softballing that to you, Steve. I was gonna
I
see
wasn't
you.
here in
I
July. Did you
wasn't
guys
here.
condemn
I
someone's
wasn't
meeting
here.
for?
No, we didn't,
at
and
it,
I
right
see
there.
one of our residents of Carolina Sands here, so if you could make sure, we didn't take nothing.
Right, and he's,
Oh, it's the president of the HOA, isn't it?
he's as big as the guy that got up.
We didn't take that, did we?
No, we
I wasn't here if we did.
Just making sure I missed something. I saw it out there and I believe everything I see, so.
All right. All that said, any other saved rounds? I think that kind of spiraled out of control. All right.
No, the workshop,
What
could you look
else?
into the possibility of what it would take to block the area off and maybe long-term open container? Two different conversations, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. With that,
Thanks for waiting, everybody.
I make a motion to go into closed session to discuss an attorney-client, real estate, and personnel matter in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A 3, 5, and 6. The properties being discussed include 310 Canal Drive, Carolina Beach, North Carolina. I guess that's implied, but it's written. 3 Carolina Beach Avenue South, 316 Cape Fear Boulevard, 12 Pavilion Avenue North. The matters being discussed include Town of Carolina Beach versus Carolina Freeman LLC, NHC 18 CVS 3151.
You got it, man, go.
Town of Carolina Beach versus B&F Enterprises LLC, NHC 18 CVS 3152. Town of Carolina Beach versus DRDK LLC, New Hanover County, 18 CVS 3153. And finally, Town of Carolina Beach versus Freeman Beach LLC, 18 CVS 3154. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes.
I was just reading a message that I got. Yeah, I'll just call you tomorrow. Thank you, babe. Bye.
From here.